Welcome, viewers. You're watching Coach Manisha in Conversations, and I'm Manisha Sharma. Our guest today is someone who has spent years at the forefront of entrepreneurship, venture capital, and business transformation. He's the founder and CEO of Consultancy Ventures and has worked closely with startups, investors, and growth stage companies across industries and geographies. Through his work, he has helped founders navigate fundraising, scale businesses, and create long term value in an increasingly competitive world. Tushar Kansal is a venture capitalist, investor, business strategist, speaker, and mentor whose insights on wealth creation, innovation, and entrepreneurship have inspired countless founders and business leaders. Tushar, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us. So, how have you been, Tushar?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Manisha.
All right, lovely. So, thank you so much for agreeing to come to the show. It's a
My
pleasure to
pleasure.
have you with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. So, Tushar, most people see the success and not the struggle, right? So, what was the turning point in your life that made you choose venture capital and entrepreneurship over a conventional career path?
Well, Manisha, I came from a middle class background where a government job or a corporate ladder was considered the safe path. But I always felt that safety was the biggest trap. And the turning point came when I witnessed firsthand how a small idea backed by the right capital and mentorship could create a disproportionate value. That's when venture capital called to me. And I was in Brand Capital Times of India's venture arm, where I was part of the team which invested 100 crores across six companies. And prior to that, I was in Deloitte and Touche. So I've had my stints with learning the ropes of investing and knowing all the nuances which go into investing. And compared to the other financial fields where I worked, like treasury, operations, debt, and banking, forex, and other things, I felt that investing offered a real entrepreneurship path, and which was uh, vastly remunerative as compared to a normal job. And then I realized earlier that I just didn't want to build just one company. I wanted to build an ecosystem by investing in many companies, and venture capital gave me that leverage to impact hundreds of businesses simultaneously. And that's when, in 2016, Consultancy Ventures was born, from the belief that entrepreneurial energy was massively underserved in terms of smart capital, strategic guidance, and global connectivity.
Wow, that is an impressive way of really sharing the thought that led to the stream that you're in.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, if you see in the ecosystem now, a lot of people are chasing money, right? So, in your experience, what creates lasting wealth? Is it capital, knowledge, relationships, or mindset?
Well, I think money is just a scoreboard. It's not the real game, because lasting wealth is always built on the foundation of genuine value creation for others. You do something out of your skin for others. And in my experience, relationships compound faster than money. The right network opens doors that no amount of capital can ever can.
So
If
true.
if capital was able to do it, then the rich people would not be searching for ideas from other smarter people all the time.
Agreed, agreed.
So mindset is the multiplier. That I've seen well-funded founders fail because of scarcity mindset, and bootstrap founders win because they thought abundantly and creative.
Yeah,
And knowledge is the only asset that cannot be taken away from.
I,
Uh, you have to invest relentlessly in learning, because informed decisions is where the real wealth begins.
yeah.
And
So,
that's, you see all the founders talking about reading books all the time, because it gives you access to the mindset of people who are successful and how they became successful.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And while you were talking of mindset, the book which I recalled was very recently somebody had suggested the book to me. The Mountain is You.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so very relevant to that.
Sure. I'll definitely
Yeah,
grab it someday.
sure, sure. So, today everybody wants to build a startup. Yeah. What's the biggest misconception founders have about entrepreneurship? Would you shed some light on that?
Sure. I think the biggest misconception is that having a great idea is enough.
Okay.
So in reality, execution, timing, and team, it matters more, even 10 times more than the idea itself.
So
Uh,
execution excellence is what should be the focus, you're saying?
yeah, you have to execute relentlessly by keeping the customer first.
Okay.
And founders romanticize in India, especially the hustle culture without respecting the cash flow. That, end of the day, what is the cash flow you are generating? Is it throwing you enough cash to invest further and building a sound business which is sustainable in itself?
Right.
So most startups don't die from lack of vision, they die from poor financial discipline. So behind every successful CEO, there is a successful CFO who manages the cash flow. And
Oh,
many first time founders believe that raising funding is the finish line,
which is not the case.
which is not the case because you raise money and then you have the real challenge in front of you, which is the real pressure that you have to now do something with that money, which grows this thing 5 times more.
Absolutely. So true.
And entrepreneurship is not a shortcut to freedom. It is the hardest form of accountability. It is very lonely. It is very challenging. You are all alone. Nobody asks questions from you. That gives you freedom, but nobody tells you anything. So that is the challenge as well. So you
Yeah.
have to do self learning all the time.
Yeah.
And you're responsible for so many people, your employees, your customers, your other stakeholders, your investors, your vendors, your banks, your financial partners. So it's a lot.
So I also think that I think where intrinsic motivation has to play the biggest role is in this arena, right? Because every day
Yes,
you just have to be a self-starter when you get up. There's nobody else who's going to be giving you a push to do that.
absolutely. And just by watching Shark Tank, if you believe that you want to become an entrepreneur, then you should think 10 times more
Yeah,
because there is a lot which is required.
true. So true. So I understand that you've met hundreds of founders, right? So in the first 5 minutes of a pitch, what tells you that a founder is extraordinary?
Well, Manisha, the first thing which I observe is intellectual honesty. Does
Okay.
the founder know what he doesn't know
Okay.
and that he doesn't know everything?
And
And are they overselling a facade of confidence?
okay.
So, extraordinary founders speak about their customers' pain with more passion than their own product.
Okay.
And that the customer's obsession is a rare and powerful signal. If you see the early videos of Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he always talked about the customer.
Okay. Okay.
And I watch how these entrepreneurs handle a tough counter question like resilience under pressure in a pitch room is a direct preview of how they'll handle the business crisis.
That's extremely pertinent. Yes. Yeah.
And the best founders I've met, they treat the pitch as a conversation, not a presentation.
Yeah.
It is they're looking for a partner, not just a check.
Correct. Correct. So true. Right. Lovely. So I think it's basically resilience, customer focus, and
In,
understanding the pain area of the customer and being focused on that is what you would look out for.
intellectual honesty.
It,
You have to accept what you don't know, and you have to accept you don't, and you are lacking in so many things. You have to accept it first.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. Yeah, true. All right. So, in all of the experiences that you have, would you share a moment when a major deal or an investment or a business decision went wrong? And what is it that that experience taught you about leadership?
Well, what happens is that once a company approaches you and you talk to the founder, uh, around 25% of the cases, you really love the founder because they have the passion, they're really hustling, and they are building a great business, and they are acknowledging their pain points as well.
Right.
But I've been involved in deals where due diligence looked perfect on paper, but the co-founder chemistry collapsed post funding.
Oh,
And once the founders or co-founders, their chemistry collapses, uh, you know, rarely does it happen that they hand over the company to the other person, and everything goes hunky dory, and
mm,
things really shake up. And if the founder leaves the company goes down because he has built the business plan, he has built the business model, he has signed the contracts with a particular business mindset. So it taught me that the team dynamics are most underrated risk in early stage investing.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
very insightful. Yes. Yeah.
that experience reshaped how I evaluated leadership. And now I spend a lot of time understanding interpersonal dynamics as much as I do with financial models.
Oh,
And a true leader does not hide the failure; he acknowledges it,
right.
and they own it publicly, and so that they can pivot from that mistake.
Okay.
And failure is the curriculum. Failure leads you to more knowledge. Failure leads you to a stronger company. Failure leads you to a stronger character.
Yeah.
So, there was a company, an agri-tech company from Chhattisgarh, which was having a turnover of 54 crores.
Okay.
And the founder was very, very technocratic. He was really great guy, and a team person also. He managed his team with a lot of respect. And but when we went further, and it was a mistake on our part that when we did the due diligence, we saw that he was doing some accounting trick. Uh, so he had a lot of losses, but
Okay.
there is something called capitalizing the losses,
Okay.
which usually startups should not do.
Right. Right.
But he was capitalizing the losses. So we wasted a lot of months on that deal. So that taught me another lesson that you have to know the numbers really well.
Right. Right. I recall. Uh, I recall a very famous organization in the IT space. I don't want to name, where the financial issues really brought the company down in
They
Indian.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, if you had to bet on three sectors that will create the next generation of Indian billion-dollar companies, which sectors would they be and why?
Well, Manisha, I think climate tech has to be there. Just look at the heat waves in India, in UK, in Europe. Yesterday, a train got stopped in France because of the heat wave. And so, climate is a real challenge, and humanity is facing it.
Agree.
So, India's energy transition is not just environmental story. It is a $500 billion economic opportunity. And the second is, of course, India. 45% Indians are farmers, or they are engaged in agriculture activity. So it is super critical for us to work on agri tech and food tech for our food security and the security of our farmers. And I think with so many inefficiencies across the supply chain, The next set of unicorns will emerge from feeding and farming India smarter.
Okay, so we're looking at sustainability in the agricultural related industry is as one sector. Which would be the other two sectors that we could focus on?
So one is climate tech, as I told you, it's a $500 billion opportunity, like electric vehicles and all the related carbon credits and so on. The second is agri-tech, and the third has to be health tech and diagnostics. With 22 crore Indians now having high sugar and diabetes, and post-COVID, with so many people falling down in gyms and other places with heart attacks. So India's appetite for a preventive healthcare, AI-driven diagnostics, and tier 2 and 3 health access uh, has exploded. And in this sector, I think there will be generational wealth which will get created in the next decade.
Okay, so while we are on the subject of health and tech related to health, uh, do you think there could be a more specific focus on the Indian holistic medicine which exists within our society? Do you think that would be a supportive mechanism?
Definitely, most definitely. The government created Ministry of Ayush and recognized all these practices, the traditional Indian health practices like naturopathy, like Ayurveda, like all these practices, and I firmly believe that the Western medicine is it's theoretically flawed. The allopathic medicine, it is good for accident victims. It is good for extreme physical, some disability. But when it comes to long-term cure of selected diseases, uh, the medicines which are under the allopathic system, they provide you short-term relief, but they give you enough side effects for long-term damage to your body. So
True.
popping pills, every doctor will give you 5 to 7 pills, because if the doctor doesn't prescribe you pills, a common Indian man or lady or woman will say that this doctor is useless.
Yeah,
So that is why they prescribe you 5 to 7 pills. But those pills do damage to your kidney as well.
absolutely. So true. So true.
Yeah. So ultimately, you have to get to the source of the problem and correct it from there, which means lifestyle change, which means Ayurvedic and natural medicines, which means physical activity and yoga, pranayama, nature walk. And I believe that, like naturopathy, it treats many things just from water.
Yeah.
So, because our body is like 80-90% water.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yes, I firmly believe in that.
All right. So the next focus of my question really is AI and human potential. Uh, so we see a lot of posts and conversations of AI replacing jobs. So in your view, uh, will AI create more opportunities than it destroys?
Well, AI is shaking up the whole system. And to give you an example, uh, when Mr. Ratan Tata was on top of Tata's, he never retrenched people. Recently, Mr. Noel Tata has come over in Tata Sons, and TCS has retrenched 120,000 people, mostly those above 50 years of age and at senior designations, because AI is shaking up the whole IT industry. The specific AI model which is causing havoc is Claude, which is from Anthropic. And Claude is shaking up the legal industry, the investment banking industry, the banking industry, and the IT industry. Now, you talk to any IT person, they will tell you that um, coding is no longer required. It is done by AI.
Hmm.
And we file a document in the for IPO, that document can be made with 98% accuracy by Claude and by ChatGPT. So, but I'll tell you the nuances of it. The nuance is that every major technological revolution, whether it is electricity or internet, it destroys certain jobs, but it creates far more. And AI will follow the same pattern, but it will follow at a faster pace. And AI will not replace humans, it will replace humans who refuse to learn AI. And for India specifically, I think those who don't have skills, who are unskilled, they have a chance now to be at par with people who are skilled because AI is with them now. So, the real opportunity is the AI augmented human judgment in fields like healthcare, education, legal, finance. And one big thing which I want to tell here is that the cost of AI is so huge. Companies which are using paid version of Claude, they say that it is so costly because the data centers, the amount of data it requires, the amount of energy it requires, it is so mind-boggling that it is very costly. So, end of the day, a company has to make a judgment about how much it can spend on those AI models versus how much it should spend on actually employing people. And that difference will eventually lead to many companies opting for far larger workforce than only using AI. This is the ground reality.
Okay. That also sort of brings to my mind that the tier two, tier three cities in India, uh, they're not really skilled in AI, right? So it's going to be a long time before they even come there. It's only in the larger cities that you see see the awareness and see the education happening. But the smaller areas where there is a lot of manpower available, uh, that focus is not there. At least that's my view. What's
See, the Indian education system is lopsided. The top IITs, they have the best faculty, the best resources. Then comes the second rung where the good teachers are missing. So it has always been the case that those who grew with this system, they did always self-learning. They learned a lot using the means available. Now the means are so many that the whole system has got democratized. A girl sitting in a small town in Siliguri has access to all the AI tools, all the knowledge, all the video based courses, edtech courses. It is just a matter of who takes initiative and learns and then starts achieving. Everything is available. So the whole thing has got democratized. Now, you can't say that I did not get a chance to go to a good university because I was in tier two. You had access to ChatGPT, you had access to Claude, you had access to all the data which Harvard teaches, which Stanford teaches. Everything is on internet and practically for free. You have YouTube-based courses.
true, true.
So, so that is the change which has happened. You can't hide behind being in tier two anymore. Geo Wi-Fi is there, available in all towns in India.
True. All right. Coming back to building influence and credibility in business, you've built huge credibility in the business of investing. And what's your framework for becoming a trusted voice in any industry?
Well, I think credibility is built through consistency, not only virality.
True.
And you have to show up with something great, like week after week after week, year after year, and the compounding effect of that trust becomes your greatest asset.
Yeah.
And become genuinely useful to your ecosystem before asking anything from it. That you have people who keep on saying, "What did I get from it? What did I get from India? What did I get from my college? What did I get from my parents?" It doesn't work like that. And I built my reputation by helping founders, investors, and operators. And since 2016, my first podcast, which I did, was in 2016. And I did 51 shows for Venture Capital TV.
Awesome.
Each was on different sector. I did a lot of speaking sessions for IIMs, IITs, and I have been doing it like there are more than 1,000 videos of mine on YouTube now, and I've been doing it since 10 years. So, I never asked, like, I always believed in giving back first and speak with specificity, like, not generality. Speak specific, something which is vastly useful for the person who's listening. And, have skin in the game. Like, I can't be talking about something in which I'm myself not involved. Otherwise, it is just fakery, like, people doing podcasts just for nothing.
Yeah.
And ultimately how many people's lives you touch, and your decisions matter to how many people. End of the day, that decides your public speaking success.
So, if I may, because I'm really curious about this, uh, what's the value uh, which is getting served for you uh, with the kind of work that you're doing? What is the value that is getting served for you?
So, like, I would have crossed 50 million views easily, maybe 100 million views. So people recognize my work, and I get approached a lot for executing consulting assignments, for funding assignments, and there was a like example. There's a company, GP Eco Solutions, and they wanted to come out with an IPO. So they said, "Sir, we need a person with a very fair name in the market on our board of directors
Yeah.
before the IPO." So they took me on the board of directors, and a 31 crore IPO, $4 million. It got IPO bids of 16,600 crores, almost $2 billion. And so, there is a lot of good name of mine which is riding on the success of others, and I prefer to keep a good name by not doing anything which is adverse to the benefit of large number of people. And these talks and all is a way of giving back, and I get back as well because God is there, so He takes care of it.
Okay, awesome. Uh, bringing the focus back to young India, a 22-year-old graduate with no money and no connections, if he or she approaches you today, what exact roadmap would you give for them for the next 5 years?
This is a very good question, Manisha. See, the first thing is invest in skills, and you know join the best company or the mentor you can access, and absorb everything like a sponge, right? And proximity to excellent people will give you a lot of uh, you know you are the sum of five people who you are closest to. So those five people have to be the best where you want to achieve something.
Okay.
And second is be known for something. Like, you say, okay, I will work on replenishing water sources.
Yeah.
So this is my aim in life. So once you start networking, going to events, exchanging visiting cards, you will be known for that, and people will align with you because your name will travel that this person is doing something in this field. And uh, that is the networking which will benefit you. If you start to do networking without getting affiliated to a particular goal, then that networking will not benefit you. People will not give time to you. They will exchange visiting cards, but they will not take the second call, and it will be a useless thing. And once you have these skills and network, then take a calculated risk. Start something. If you are not confident about starting on your own, join a early stage startup as a part of the initial team. Have some skin in the game. Get 2 or 3% equity in that. ESOPs in that,
Okay.
and a company which is solving a real fundamental problem, not a vanity problem, problem of which is fundamental to people. And then, of course, is the part where you are actually a content creator as well. So you document and share your journey across social media.
All right. Okay. I think that's really giving a clear path to a young person who would want to build credibility and standing in the ecosystem. When we look at entrepreneurship, sometimes there are huge mistakes which are expensive, which people make, right? Uh, so, what's the most expensive mistake which entrepreneurs make when making financial or career decisions, according to you?
Well, the most expensive mistake is optimizing for the short term rather than, long-term compounding, because everything in life you gain by compounding. If you do a 10 rupee thing for a friend and he does a 10 rupee thing for you, that is not friendship. If he's your friend, he will vastly help you over your entire life. That is called compounding a relationship.
Okay.
So, the second thing is don't make financial decisions based on social validation. Rather than, it should be personal clarity. Like, Snapdeal founders, I heard that both of them, once they raised huge amount of money, they always lived in a five-star room. They had a room booked entire year.
Okay. Well,
So social validation. We are rich now. So, that impresses people in the short term,
yeah.
but it doesn't give you the right success in the long term. The third thing is inaction disguised as research. So a lot of people say that I want to take a break, and uh, and the way they justify it is by saying that I'll go to education again.
Okay. All right.
So many times, like Elon Musk has said, when you go back to education, it is basically taking a rest, because education can be done online also. All data is available.
Mhm.
So nothing wrong in it. It is his person, that person's money, that person. But end of the day, you then, be clear that actually I want a rest. I've worked for 20 years. I need some rest. So I'll take a break for 2 years. And then you do the learning. No harm in that. And last thing is that,
Sabbatical and call it a sabbatical is what you're saying.
yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay.
And the last thing is that always align with people with high integrity. And integrity should be first, beyond how many skills they have and what they can do for you. Beyond that, what matters is integrity.
Yeah.
Even if they are average, even if they are less useful, but if they are integral, then you will compound them faster in your life.
Yeah. I think that's a very important value, which really serves people in the truest form, being in, having integrity and living it on a daily basis. Yeah. So, Tushar, you've interacted with investors and businesses across different countries, right? So, what is the one mindset difference between successful global entrepreneurs and an average entrepreneur?
Uh, this is a good question, because the mindset difference is huge across people, and successful global entrepreneurs think in terms of decades. They say that, okay, and they have an irrational belief in markets that, this market is going to grow like anything, and they will dedicate themselves to achieving that. And they treat failure as data. Okay, we lost here. What are the learnings from it? Okay, how much we lost? How much we should not have done this. Now the next time we will not do this. So we will build some safety net or a process which avoids this kind of failure. And average entrepreneurs, they treat failure as identity. Oh yaar, mere andar, I don't have this thing, I don't have this, I am not so skilled, my communication skill is not good, and I'm not a good decision taker, and they personalize everything.
Right.
And I think Indian entrepreneurs are very, very international in terms of their thinking and in terms of matching themselves with global standards. Because of English, our exposure is a lot towards what is happening in US, UK, and so Indian entrepreneurs are up there in terms of ambition, in terms of thinking big.
Okay. So that's really nice to know that the Indian entrepreneurs have equal, if not more, standing in the global perspective. Yeah. Uh, I'm coming to a very pertinent aspect of leadership, which is leadership in crisis, right? So, when everything is going wrong in a company, what does true leadership actually look like?
Well, this is so important because many startups they face slowdown, and the market also has its own dynamics. Like the Iran war happened, the Ukraine war happened, COVID happened, and I think true leadership always begins with radical transparency. So hiding bad news from your team, your board, your investors destroys trust. So acknowledgement in public is the first thing. The second thing is slow down communication and speed up decision making. Uh, there is, there is a theory which says that when you are facing a crisis, start the cockroach style of management. A cockroach which eats as little as possible, but it can even survive a nuclear winter.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, although this cockroach Janata Party has spoiled the name cockroach, but actually this cockroach theory of leadership is there since a long time.
Okay.
And in a crisis, a leader's character becomes a company's culture, like how you treated the employee when chips were down,
Yeah.
and when cash was tight, and how you treated your clients, your vendors. So it sets the tone for the company's culture. And the best crisis leaders, you know they always prioritize what is needs to be saved versus what can be let go, and what can be let go they cut around it and save costs.
So right now, if we see, the first to let go is human resources.
Yeah, this is the American style of business.
Yeah.
China recently, I strongly feel we keep on looking up to US for everything, whereas China has outperformed US, Japan has outperformed US, South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore. So I think we should start looking up to Singapore and
Germany,
China.
for that matter. I mean, Germans also could be
Yeah,
old.
Germans. Yeah. So US style is always hire and fire. Like whenever the things are going good, you hire. Otherwise, you fire.
Yeah.
Indian businessmen never used to fire. They always cut salaries for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I have
So
actually been in an organization when one of the cycles, financial cycles, it was not really looking very up. The incentives for everybody was cut. And specifically for top management, some 1%, 2% was cut out their salary also, which made a huge impact across the organization.
definitely. And the other American trait is the CEO salary is 500 times the average worker salary, 800 times. I mean, it is mind boggling. I mean,
Yeah.
understood he's the CEO, but definitely, how can you pay him that much? Right? So that's the thing. India needs to now look up to China and Singapore, and not US, for management tools, for understanding businesses, for building businesses. In China, recently, a company told an employee that we are letting you go because of artificial intelligence,
Okay.
and the court stopped that. Court said no one in China will be retrenched because of AI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they set the tone for post AI economy. Sure.
Um, so at the end of your journey, uh, what is it that you want your near and dear and everybody else to remember Tushar Kansal for?
Uh, my journey is, almost like a long journey, 25 years post my MBA from Delhi University.
And
So,
I'm betting it will be many, many more decades. And
yeah,
what is,
I don't want to retire ever, actually.
I think that's
So,
wonderful. That's wonderful.
yeah, yeah. But I want to be remembered as someone who democratized access to smart capital and strategic thinking.
Wonderful.
And yeah, and I think Consultancy Ventures is seen as a launchpad for next generation of global companies. And beyond business, I want my legacy to be about the conversations I've had across these podcasts, the expert speaking sessions, judging sessions, uh, and the mentorship sessions. And I think I made I want to be seen as a person who made a young person believe
Okay. Young person believe in entrepreneurship.
want to be seen as a person who added more value than I extracted from investors, founders, communities. So
So true. So true. So, one habit that changed your life.
that is paying gratitude.
Oh, wow.
I always stand in front of a gurudwara which is near my house, and I always say thank you for the day, and for the next day I ask for prayers and wishes.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and the second thing is that I do nature walk in the morning with bare feet on the grass before sunrise.
Okay.
So these two habits have held me through a lot of lows in my life, including financial lows. Uh, but I think these two habits made me look forward to the day.
Wonderful. One industry you're most excited about.
Climate tech, because things are going down in climate. Delhi is unlivable 4 months a year because of pollution,
Yeah.
and 2 months of so much of heat that a person can't stand outside. And I think climate tech is.
Okay. One belief you changed in the last 5 years.
I used to believe that pedigree predicted founder success,
Okay.
but I believe that hunger, coachability is so important, and resilience are integrity, far important traits than. And one guy who I look up to is like Rishi Sunak. Although he comes from an Ivy League background, but becoming a prime minister of UK, an Indian origin guy who openly says he's Hindu,
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, the standard of that achievement is unbelievable.
Hmm. Okay. Great. Um, One piece of advice people should ignore.
Uh, our schooling system is all about play it safe and then climb the ladder. I want to tell people that once you work in the senior designations in corporates, you will realize that they are also not playing it safe. They are also entrepreneurial. They are also taking decisions based on hard facts, and each decision affects whether they will stay in the company or not. So the real safety is not there. There is nothing called as a safe career. So that is what I want to tell youngsters, especially.
Okay. All right. So, for there are no careers which are safe from AI also.
No, there are right now there are many careers which are safe from AI. But I think end of the day, you have to absorb AI because it is there now. You
Yeah.
can't do away with it.
Yeah. So I think it's like a fundamental skill that one should know.
Yeah,
Even if you don't become an expert at it, how you're taught maths and science in school, you should know AI.
you
That's
should know. You should definitely know AI.
yeah.
And I don't know why our schools don't teach cleaning the school, making food. Guys, males should know how to make food. It is an essential skill. It is a basic skill to have. What is wrong in males learning how to cook? Like,
I wouldn't want to comment on that, but my school did have cleaning, so we would clean our own classrooms.
wow, really
Teams,
awesome.
teams, every week, one team had to do it, so we were cleaning our own classrooms.
Wow. Which school was that, ma'am?
This is Loreto Convent.
But, wow. Really awesome, awesome. I look up to Japanese schools. They all the schools are cleaned by kids only, and they teach you public manners, which are so lacking in India, cleanliness manners, toilet manners, which are lacking in India, and so all these things have to be taught at the school level. Why only knowledge all the time, like books and books and books? It has to be other things also.
All right. So now we come to a very important signature question. If you could send one message to every ambitious young person in India right now, what would that message be?
Well, that message would be that India is not a developing country. Actually, the economy of India on dollar terms is less. That is why they say that India is fourth largest, sixth largest. But actually, if you look at in economic terms, like purchasing power parity is a term through which you uh, try to see what is the size of an economy. Uh, the basis the purchasing power. On that, uh, particular uh, thing,
Yeah.
India is $22 trillion economy. So no, we are the third largest already in the world. So it is an emerging superpower, and your generation has the rare privilege of building it. So don't shrink your dreams, and don't fit somebody else's definition of what is possible. And don't wait for permission. The best time to start is today, and invest in yourself. Becoming a better version of yourself should be your aim in life before you invest in anything else.
Agreed. 100% agreed, sir.
Thank you.
So, Tushar, this has been an incredible conversation. The insights and the experiences across various aspects of not just business, but how you are investing, the mindset that's required, how resilience plays a very critical role in the way you grow your own organization, how team dynamic impacts how an organization flourishes. Uh, I think these are very pertinent observations and insights that you've shared today.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, and if I am carrying a lot of value back, right, because of all of this. And I hope similar is the experience for all our viewers also. I truly believe our audience will ask for more such pertinent insights. And I hope we have the opportunity to meet you maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, where I'm sure you would have accomplished much more than what you have now. And it would be a privilege to have you again on our podcast someday.
Thank you. Thank you, Manisha.
Have a great day. See you
You
soon.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.